The Porsche 911 will, actually now that I think about it, has gone down in history as being the most well-rounded, high-performance sports car ever built in the entire history of the automobile. And I don't think anyone can really argue with that. In my, well, I guess now fairly extensive career, I've had the blessed opportunity to test drive many 911s. And although it was semi-clear to me over the last 2 decades and change, it has become very, very obvious to me now that not all 911s, say within a generation, are the same. This car is the one that's pointed it out to me the most. Let me put it to you this way. I have 2 younger brothers. Obviously, we share the identical DNA, and well, we're all fairly heavy set, but our personalities, are very, very different. I might be the slightly more pragmatic, maybe a little bit more mature of the 3. The younger brother is maybe a little bit more adventurous, maybe a little organized, borderline nerdy, if you will. And then the youngest brother, well, he's like any youngest sibling in any family. So let's just cap it off and say that he's the wild one. And that's pretty much what happens with the 911. Now, if we take the GT3, and if Porsche decides to grace us with a GT2 version of the 992 generation 911, well, that's obviously the wild versions, right? The muscle-bound speed demons. You get the idea. At the other end of the spectrum, well, you get the Carrera, which is, well, maybe a little bit like me, a slightly more mature version, a little bit more pragmatic, but still very passionate and very good at what it does. And then somewhere in the middle, there's the Targa. The Targa is kind of like the professional of the bunch, maybe the highest educated member of the 911 family. It's always dressed to the nines, it looks good, it's very eloquent, it's the smartest, most comfortable. And that essentially leads me to think, hello, nice to see you too, that this Targa is the GT version of the 911 family. Not that you would really have anyone sitting in the back seat, just in case you've never seen one. I'll show it to you when we do the walk around. But this Targa 4S is a 911 like all 911s, but still very different. I'll try and explain that to you once we get behind the wheel. The 992 Porsche 911's beauty is also undeniable. Roof up or roof down, it's just incredible. I mean, look, I just washed the car before doing this video shoot, and I swear to you, as I was rubbing, I mean washing the car, I felt like I was about to get arrested because I was doing something indecent. The lines, the curves, the details, how the headlights are fitted into the front fenders, I don't know. Again, undeniably an absolute gorgeous masterpiece of a premium high-performance sports car. And I must say, I must congratulate Porsche Canada and congratulate the person who spec'd out this car, because it is spec'd to absolute perfection. The night blue color suits the Targa's personality and character to a T, and the Aurum decals, or like the gold bronze Aurum is what it's called, decals and wheels are just, frankly, I don't think I've ever seen a prettier, more attractive, in the sensual sense, if you will, 911 in my life. Had it been me that had spec'd out this car, I would have probably opted to get the roll hoop in silver as opposed to satin black. But that's just me. I mean, it would have popped, and that's the Targa's signature body character line, right? I mean, do we need to go around this car? I could stare at it all day. This combination is so rich, so ultra premium. Anyhow, speaking of rich, pricing for a 2021 Carrera in the US is $101,200. A Targa 4 is $121,300, and the 4S, Targa 4S that is, $137,200. In Canada, the base Carrera is $115,000 even. A Targa 4 is $138,000 even. And the 4S, that's what this is $156,100. Now, what do you get with your, or for your $156,000? Well, you get the privilege of speccing it out and creating your own masterpiece. That's all you need to know. Now, this tester, well, obviously has a good number of features. A few of them I've mentioned, the Orem wheels and decals. Among other things, you'll find the sport exhaust, is a full leather interior, adaptive sports seats, rear axle steering, which is fantastic. LED matrix headlights, I'll show those to you, and a Burmester audio. Look at that. See, I'm not lying, I can read. And there's something really cool about that. That almost reads dirty in one or two ways, in fact. So the grand total, because my car also happens to have the premium package, which gives you surround view and cooled seats, as it sits, $186,500. In my opinion, that's the price you gotta pay to get something this unbelievably gorgeous, efficient, fast, comfortable, glorious, glamorous even sports car. Let's check out the interior. So I said full leather and adaptive sports seats. Oh, and there's one thing about this car too. Yes, because it's a 4S, it can be equipped with the manual 7-speed transmission, because the Targa 4, you can't get it. Now, those are the adaptive sports seats. They are more comforting. They give you a sense of security that is greater than a mother's embrace. I mean, there they are. They are fantastic. Unfortunately, I forget the name of the color, but look, it works. And I don't know why I feel compelled to show you the frunk. But look, the combination of the Orem, the beige, tan, Mojave, whatever, and the night blue. My God, look at the metal flake in that. It's so gorgeous. Yeah, so the frunk, it's 130 liters, so plenty of room for a properly selected backpack for all your camera and microphone equipment. And the thing with this car, I mentioned the rear seat. I mean, you wouldn't do it to your worst enemy because it's just not kind. But if you want more storage space, you can lower down the seat back. I won't do it, but it gives you like an extra 270 liters worth of stuff. So you and your favorite person in the world can go for a nice long road trip. Now, do we just sit here and stare? Because I could do that. No, that would make for boring video. But look, it's just Porsche quality. It's just all fantastic and beauty and exceptional craftsmanship and materials, and it's an event. I'll take it out of first gear because we don't want to go flying forward. Now here you have your twin 7-inch displays on each side of the analog tachometer, which, I don't know. Thank you, Porsche. Thank you. Oh, by the way, when you get the manual transmission, you also get the Sport Chrono package, which means you get the drive modes right here. And they show up here on one of the displays there. And you can also fiddle with some of the buttons here, such as that one. And this one. And that's about it. You know what? I said way too much already. It's time to go for a drive. Okay, there are a few things you need to know about the Targa roof itself. So unlike the Cabrio in the 911, the roof mechanism will not operate unless the car is not moving. As well, if you're too close to a wall or any kind of thing in the back, well, the roof mechanism will not operate either. I'm thinking that big piece of glass in the back is really, really expensive. Is there any? Oh yeah. 19 seconds, down, up, which is pretty average time-wise. I think that's all I have to say about the, oh no, one thing. I did notice, and I only noticed because I wasn't expecting it, wind buffeting at speed, say 110 kilometers an hour with the top down. Again, I wasn't expecting it, so that's why I noticed it. With the windows down, it's kind of okay. With the windows up, not so good, but it's not that bad. Anyhow, I think that covers everything about the roof. Let's just talk about what makes this 911 Targa 4S special, and that's this 7-speed manual transmission, which is fantastic. It comes with the Sport Chrono package, which means it also has the drive modes, and that's a great thing, with one exception. If you're in a normal drive mode or in your individual drive mode, throttle blip is not applied. If you roll the wheel from normal into sport, thankfully the dampers stay in comfort, which is really cool, or normal, but then throttle blip is done on its own, which is horrible. It can't be deactivated. So if I want slightly more aggressive throttle response and all that, I gotta keep it in, or I have to deal with the throttle blip, which is pointless because the pedals are so beautifully positioned, and even in normal, throttle response is instantaneous. And heel and toe is easy. Everything about the manual gearbox itself is easy. So it's kind of sad that it has to be that way, but I suppose it has to be that way. Here's another thing about the manual transmission. So it's a 7-speed, right? If you are, say, in 4th gear, for example, and you would do a 4-7 because cruising and you don't need more power, you can't unlock 7th unless you shift into 5th or 6th. I'm guessing that once in a while people accidentally do a 4-7, which will really kill your forward momentum if you're trying to accelerate hard. Not that you really need to shift that often, because this thing is geared incredibly long. It's unbelievable. Well, the throws are fantastic. Look, I mean, it's just a great manual gearbox, as Porsche knows how to do them, as the Volkswagen Auto Group can do them, and as BMW can. They all have their own specific little things, but this is brilliant. Okay, twin turbocharged 3-liter flat 6. So that's your basic engine for the Carrera and Targa. In the non-S cars, you're looking at 379 horsepower, 332 pound-feet of torque. Once you move to the S, things get interesting. 443 horsepower at 6,500 RPM and 390 pound-feet of torque from 23 to 5,000, which means that just a glorious swell of torque and beautiful forward momentum. It's incredible. And it's also why I suppose that the manual gearbox is only available with the S, because as is with the Sport Chrono and the S package and all that, the 0 to 100 time is of 4.4 seconds in the Targa 4S with the manual. Now, if you take a step down, if you will, into the Targa 4 non-S with the PDK, 4.4 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. So with a 7-speed manual gearbox, like a 4.8 0 to 100 kilometer time, give or take, is not quite 2021 992 Porsche 911 time figures. I mean, it's far from terrible, but even so. What explains, say, that extra time required to reach 100 kilometers an hour is the roof mechanism. From what I can tell, adds the whole roof thing with the panel, the glass panel and all that, adds about 200 pounds to a regular Carrera 4S, which itself is already, I think, about 200 pounds heavier than a rear-wheel drive Carrera S. So that's a lot of weight added on top of a lot of weight. But obviously this thing is still ridiculously fast. But don't get me wrong, although I love putting the hammer down on this car, unlike other 911s or even a 718, I don't feel that I need to put the hammer down all the time. There's something about the Targa's GT-ish nature that's relaxing. You just want to cruise in this. You just want to drive about and have a good time. And once in a while, you want to squirt the throttle and just take off. This is the most relaxed. Fun is the wrong word, but amusing, also the wrong word. I'm trying to look for a word that means that it's great fun to drive when you're doing it in a relaxed fashion. You don't feel the urge to nail it all the time. And it doesn't hurt that, look, steering is on point. Look, this car with the Sport Chrono package, a manual transmission, has torque vectoring, has, as I mentioned, I think, a rear axle steering, which kind of shrinks down the whole car. And steering response is just that much nicer, but it's so progressive, so always on. I mean, the assistance progressively builds up that it's not sharp, it's not in your face, and I'm in normal drive mode, just so we understand each other. It's nice, it's really nice. And then, 4.3, and then the sport exhaust is obviously always on, which is something you can automatically program in your individual drive mode setting, or you can do it individually with the buttons I showed you. And as far as damping is concerned, like in normal or comfort, it's always the right setting. On these country roads, which are generally very ugly, which are decent right now, and the ride quality is superb. If you want to go into sport, it doesn't get crashy, but kind of close. So this is the GT. This is the most comfortable, smoothest, relaxing Porsche 911 I have ever driven. I'm not sure I love it more for it, but I'm certainly not hating it. Does that make any sense? It's a Porsche 911. You pick your version and you'll never regret it. That's essentially always the conclusion. Tabang ng testicalis.